So a lot of people think kind of selling to people or getting someone to buy their product is all about persuasion. So persuading them it's the best thing for them and that it will do what they want and all that. And that's part of it. But the most important thing to kind of start with, especially when you're selling stuff online, is kind of disqualifying the wrong people because online there are millions and millions of people. And 99.999% of these people not interested in what you want and will never, ever, ever, ever buy what you want, what you own, what you're selling them. So what you need to do is kind of disqualify all those people because otherwise you're going to waste 99.9% of your time dealing with these people who are just simply wrong. They're never, ever going to buy what you want. They don't have the money. They're not interested. It doesn't solve a problem they actually are struggling with. So how would you actually find people that matter, people who you can change their lives with your product and people who want to buy what you have and be actually excited to hand over money for your solution because you can help them. And that's what it's all about, offering them value in return for their money. And there's this guy called John in the book 80/20 Sales and Marketing. I honestly don't know his surname, but he used to be a professional full-time gambler and then turned into a sales guy and was hugely successful, partly because of stuff he learned in the gambling world. And he came up with these things called the 5 power disqualifiers. And these are 5 things that easily and quickly disqualify people, so you can kind of get straight to the people that matter and stop wasting your time with people who will never buy what you want. So you can spend much less time actually working and a lot more time actually profiting and offering a service to people who want them. So the first kind of one of these key power disqualifiers is very simple, but a lot of people don't even think about this one, and it is, do they have the money? So for example, if you're offering a live in-person course that you train someone on, that might cost, let's say, £5,000 at one-off cost. So if you're trying to sell this to 16-year-olds, to how to start a business, this is not going to work. 16-year-olds don't tend to have £5,000 lying around and they don't have credit cards and things like that where they can invest £5,000. So for a start, that's a terrible idea because they don't have the money. Or if you're making an electric skateboard for 16-year-olds and it's £5,000, again, very few of them have the money and very few of their parents are going to invest £5,000 in it. So first things first, make sure they have the money. So maybe you're going to offer a free course to 16-year-olds. I mean, selling stuff still has to happen if it's free, or maybe you're going to offer your course to kind of 35 to 45-year-olds, people who are kind of set their business up and they will have some free income to spend £5,000. Now, a quick note here, there is a difference between do they have the money and do they want to spend the money. A lot of people will claim they don't have the money, but really they have credit cards and things like that that they could use if they really, truly, desperately wanted what you had. And that comes down to marketing. And if your marketing isn't good enough, people and your salesmanship, people will come up with the excuse of not having enough money when they really actually do. So other than that, try and make sure fundamentally the kind of people you're aiming for will have access to that kind of money. So step 1 is that, but step 2 is probably the most important one and the one most people kind of mess up. And it's the reason why selling fitness in winter is very hard as well. And it is, do they have a bleeding neck? Which means, like, imagine someone's, let's get really graphic with this. Imagine someone's taken a knife and slashed your neck. You want a solution to that problem very, very, very fast. You want to go to hospital and you want them to fix it because you're going to die if you don't fix that problem. And the same kind of thing applies to marketing. Obviously not quite as extreme, but the people need to have a problem. They need to know they have the problem, and they also need to want a solution to that problem right now. That's the key with the bleeding neck. They need to want a solution right now, because if they can put it off, they will put it off. People hate making decisions, and they're not going to want to spend money with you unless they feel like this problem is only going to get worse and they have to solve it right now, or they're going to lose something significant, so they're going to lose money or something along those lines. So, for example, maybe they've set up a business, but they're losing their relationship with their wife and she's going to divorce, and that could be a bleeding neck. It could be, my business coaching course can help you half the hours you work and double your income so you can finally spend time with your wife and so she stays with you, basically. That wasn't the best sales line, but you kind of get the point. They have to have a bleeding neck. They have to know that they have this problem and that they need a solution right now. And therefore, that'll make it so much easier. If they've got this urgent problem, it'll be much easier to sell them the solution. So that applies to fitness in the way I said earlier, because in the summer, or when it's in the run-up to summer like it is now, people know that they need to be in shape because they're going to be wearing all these summer clothes that are light and they reveal their figure more. and therefore they have this kind of bleeding neck problem that they want to look better because it's kind of a problem that's approaching very fast, and if they don't sort it out now, they know they're going to look bad and feel unconfident, and it's going to make their summer a bit miserable. Whereas in the winter, they can kind of cover up with all those big winter clothes, and there's no kind of bikini holidays coming up for a long time, so they can kind of wind back, and the bleeding neck thing becomes a lot less. So it's a lot harder to sell fitness in the winter because of that. But that's just the second point. Do they have a bleeding neck? That's a very important one, and do consider that. Number 3 is, do they buy into your unique selling proposition? So whatever your USP is, do they actually want that? Because some people might come up with a crazy USP that they don't want, and that's your unique selling proposition. So that could be like, I've got this car that drives itself. That's coming out now, and do people actually want a car that drives itself? I actually would, but I know a lot of people are very scared about that, and you might never sell one because people are not interested in it. Whereas in fitness, what we try and sell, there's 2 kind of USPs, but one is getting lean and losing fat without any cardio, which is pretty cool because basically nobody offers that. And the second one, that's probably not as much of a USP, but still a good one, is combining training, so workouts, diet, and mindset coaching all in one course. But less people are kind of clear they want that. They still are the people with binge eating problems, but that one's slightly less powerful than the no cardio one. So they're kind of examples of a USP. So will they actually buy into it? So make sure you have that as well, point 3. And then number 4 is kind of an important one, and it doesn't apply to everyone, but do they have the ability to say yes? And a great example of this is someone trying to sell a coaching course maybe to a dentist, or a business coaching course to a dentist. But a dentist always has a secretary, and if she doesn't think the thing is important, or the bleeding neck problem isn't her bleeding neck problem, then she'll never pass the letter on to the actual dentist. The Helga, whatever she's called at the desk, sorts through the mail, and if she thinks it's not a significant problem, he's never going to see it. Whereas the dentist might have seen that letter and thought, oh crap, yeah, I am working 7 days a week, and it's a big problem for me, and it's ruining my family life, as we talked about earlier. Whereas Helga might think, what's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with working 7 days a week. I only work 5 days a week, and she doesn't realize the impact it has and how it's ruining his relationship. So they need to have the ability to say yes. So you need to be selling to the person that can say yes and hand the money over, basically. If they're not able to, then it's not going to work. It's like, kind of like those door-to-door salesmen you get. And if they come to your house and knock on the door and you answered as a child, some of them might try and convince you to buy this knife set or something else weird they're selling, but that's never going to work because you don't have the ability to say yes. You don't have the money as a child to say yes. We're going to give us a household money over to the salesman. So they need to get the parents to come. So they often said, are your parents in? Because if the parents aren't there, then there's no decision maker who can say yes, and therefore their time is wasted. So make sure they have the ability to say yes. And then the last point is, does what you sell fit in with the overall kind of life plans? Like maybe something you're selling just doesn't work for them. So maybe they're a mum of kids, and you're trying to sell to them, mum of kids with kids at a school and they can't move, and you're trying to sell them a business coaching course which allows them to travel the world, and they're not interested in traveling the world. That's not their dream, so it doesn't really fit in with their life plans. Or you're trying to sell them a course which involves them having to fly to Australia, and they're a full-time mum and they don't have time for this. So you've got to make sure what you're selling fits in with their life plans and hit every one of those key points. So easily and very quickly, you want to rattle through those points and disqualify people as fast as possible. So first of all, you want to make sure they have the money. So you can easily do that by saying simple things like business owners with revenue over X, warning, la 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 la, with a headline. And then immediately people with their revenue under that are not going to listen. And then do they have a bleeding neck? Make sure the problem you talk about in your marketing and your like headlines and things like that are serious bleeding neck problems. So something maybe about, do you want to spend summer feeling like a beach whale on the beach? That sounds a bit weird. You get what I mean. Do you want to spend your summer holiday feeling like a beach whale again? Or do you actually want to feel sexy and confident? And that kind of says they have a bleeding neck because the summer's coming up and they don't want to feel like that. And that's like a big urgent problem that they've got. Then you want to make sure they buy into your unique selling proposition. So it could say, and then brackets, the same headline as mentioned, without doing any cardio and enjoying your diet and actually enjoying your diet, something like that. So That's your USP, kind of snuck into that. And then do they have the ability to say yes? Well, you can tailor your adverts to women aged, say, let's 30 to 40. So there are the actual people who will be buying it, and they can say yes, and make sure the price point is right for them as well. And then the final thing is, does it, what you sell, fit in with overall life plans? So at the end of this headline, you can say, by working out just 3 times a week, or working out at home just 3 times a week. So busy mums can actually do that. So you can kind of hit all these power disqualifiers very quickly to make sure the right people are the people you're actually dealing with, because otherwise you're going to be dealing with hundreds, thousands of emails, wasting hours and hours of your week trying to sell to these people who are just completely wrong for your product, and it's going to take so much effort to try and convince them. Then they'll be a terrible fit for your product. They might even leave. They might want their money back. They might ask loads of really irritating questions and waste and drain all your time. So make sure you're selling to the right people using the 5 power disqualifiers I talked about today.